The current South African government is a wasteful government that does not understand the importance of ownership of property. These comrades are too lazy to think or work. When they do think or work, corruption is the goal. A building that was supposed to be worth tens of millions in rands or even more is about to be demolished.
The Usindiso building, which caught fire on the 31st of August 2023, killing 77 people and leaving hundreds of others homeless, it's set to be demolished. Investigators into the fire have revealed that the building is not suitable to house people anymore.
Whose building is it? It's your building. It's my building, because state-owned buildings are our buildings. Buildings built using our taxes are our buildings. Last year, one of these buildings went up in flames, killing tens of people, and now it's going to be demolished. Welcome to Citizen Concerned, where we remind you to beware of the comrades. Imagine a government-owned building housing illegal immigrants in South Africa. A concerned citizen reports the issue, the police do nothing, the government does nothing, and the results become deadly.
The appearance of the experts before the Commission of Inquiry into Usindiso building fire has opened a can of worms. It has exposed how stakeholders fail to pull their weight in the fight against hijacked buildings trend in the city of Johannesburg. Inner city civil groups report that law enforcement agencies have been ignoring their intelligence on matters relating to hijacked buildings.
Subs in terms of housing, it's useless.
Our government came into power inheriting thousands of buildings, collectively with billions. But over the years, all those buildings are getting erased one by one. A building with millions goes up in smoke just like that. A building with millions gets demolished just like that. And guess what? For these buildings to be demolished, it will actually cost millions. The company that will get the tender to do the demolishing will collect millions of our tax money. So while our government owns thousands of buildings, either unoccupied or being used by hijackers, drug dealers, or undocumented foreigners right here in South Africa, the same government through NSFAS uses our tax money to pay millions every semester, billions every year to private companies that own student accommodation buildings. Yet still, our students are crying and complaining about not having decent student accommodation. Just what is going on? What types of morons are in the ANC?
Cape Peninsula University of Technology students in Bellville were forced to sleep outside the campus yesterday. They say the NSFAS accommodation pilot project is failing them.
Technology students are sleeping on sidewalks. This after the institution's security removed them from the campus student center on Tuesday. They say the NSFAS accommodation pilot project is not helping.
Northlink College students in Bellville were left stranded yesterday after the NSFAS accommodation portal failed to function. The scheme had assured students that the accommodation pilot project would be operational, but the reality on the ground is totally different.
Sesijonga police stations ngabanye apha ngoku sileqela sijonga okay masine police stations selala phayana because asinayo imali yobhukisha asinamali yongena apha ngaphakathi erezi. On Monday you have to be in class. Uzoya njani esikolweni ungakhange uvase ungakhange ulale? Uzoya njani esikolweni? Ulalephi? Usuke Eastern Cape kubantu basuke ePlato kubantu basuke KZN.
The level of ANC incompetence is so disturbing that it's not even funny. You own thousands of buildings, some are vacant, some are rotting, some are hijacked, and our children, the future of this country, are without student accommodation when there is a budget allocated for that specific purpose. When they do get that accommodation, your officials have engaged in corruption that results in these students living in substandard accommodations, being forced to stay in poor, unsafe, unsanitary conditions.
But are still frustrated by the dilapidated student accommodation infrastructure and a lack of water at the institution.
The challenge that we have in the campus is whereby we have crisis ya metsi le di toilets, and rona is banyana re na le guys a ke tsebe re explain yang because toilets tsa rona di leswe and rona is banyana re thola infection and gape crisis ya metsi ha ona metsi mo sekolong and hona le bana ba bang ba seng sharp ba tlhoka metsi like ka ofela rona re tlhoka metsi and re na le batho ba disabled mo sekolong but ha ba ba fi attention e ba e tlhokang.
Sometimes me go tla go ba ka one tap mo ka ga tap tse 4 unit. So how go hammetsi because media e tlhapa kaone e gona kaone e ge bi sala e ga kaone go go stola sa go toilet no mpulela no gore ha re dirisa one tap or two taps then sa khona go funa function ya bona. How will we be living ka ka tsela jang mo go sna metsi? We need water.
You don't think that maybe, just maybe, converting some of the hundreds of vacant or misused buildings into student accommodation would be a solution? I mean, it will save us millions in tax money going to private accommodation companies every month. It will prevent lack of accommodation for our children, and it will ensure that the NSFAS money circulates within the government to improve the situation for students year after year. Do you care at all about the resources and citizens of the nation you are there to serve? We have buildings that are collectively worth billions, and you are failing to make sure that municipalities keep them in order. This goes to show how many people are very, very careless with what they didn't work for, with what they just inherited, with what somebody else handed over to them. Just consider Eskom, Transnet, hospitals, other infrastructure, and state-of-the-art buildings that you as a government found in good condition. But you are now allowing strong, beautiful, useful buildings to either fall into wrong hands or fall into ruin.
Today, Joburg TV is currently at Sawa Street, where the Department of Health and Housing is burning down. No one seems to know what sparked the building, but people say it started earlier in the morning. It is also disturbing to know that one of the paramedics passed on while trying to rescue some of the employees. As the building was burning, residents of Johannesburg stood outside in shock as they watched the building getting burnt. 3 firefighters have died, while 13 Department of Health employees have been rushed to hospital. MEC for Infrastructure Development, Jacob Mamabula, has confirmed to members of the media that the building was not complying with health and safety regulations.
The 32-story structure's fire escape doors are sealed. It has no smoke detectors or alarms and insufficient water to extinguish a fire. The nerve center of the justice system is the latest structure to be evacuated.
So you can agree with the mayor that there was reason to panic in case of a fire breaking out?
Oh yes, certainly. And we don't disagree that there was a need for drastic action to make it compliant. But I can assure you, you go around the cities of South Africa, you're going to find thousands and not hundreds of buildings that are in a worse position.
Once you have allowed the buildings to be dilapidated, you want to sell them or demolish them. Once a building is hijacked, you complain about illegal occupation. What type of politicians do we have, though? Is it because you're confident that you, all your children and grandchildren will have money to relocate from South Africa or be cushioned from the consequences of your destructive actions and inactions? Is that why you behave in this way? South Africa, I'm sorry to say this, but it's true, so I'm going to say it. Because of our lack of action as citizens, because of our silence, because of our tolerance for this behavior within our government, we deserve the dark days that we are in. We kept quiet for too long. We did nothing for too long. If things remain the same, if we continue to say nothing, continue to do nothing, the dark future that will come as a result of our silence and inaction should be blamed on no one but us.
Ugly scenes played out on Wednesday after students attacked security that was guarding one of the student res. Despite the chaos, one student says they are not inciting violence.
Another thing that makes sure that we can't have anything nice is this issue of burning things and throwing bricks. You threw bricks and broke gates. Did that help? Did that bring the solutions that you were seeking? If you throw bricks at your university or your college, what do you think, or who do you think will fix the infrastructure you're vandalizing? Someone has to pay for those damages. Already, with the money available, you're not getting all the resources you need. So why should you cause damages that will require even more money to fix? If that college or university shuts its doors because of the damages, will you be happy? I know you're in a tough time. I know you're in a tough position, but use your head to think, not your emotions. Think long term, not just for the duration of the protest, right? These students did not even have to get to this stage if the ANC had used these many buildings to create safe, sanitary, state-of-the-art student accommodations. But no, they would rather donate these buildings to NGOs. I have nothing against NGOs, but I do know that charity begins at home. How are you donating buildings when the citizens you are living to serve are without student accommodation, without schools, homes, and hospitals? How? They give our buildings to NGOs. The NGOs do not maintain the buildings. They don't even pay the $500 per year they're supposed to. These buildings were built using taxes and sweat from people, and you're just donating them to NGOs. And what NGOs are these? Fake NGOs that come to South Africa to force the government to allow undocumented foreigners. NGOs that encourage abortions. What NGOs are they? Can someone please tell me in the comments below? These buildings should be providing real value for South Africa and South Africans. You don't get them for free. Why are you giving them away for free as if there's no useful purpose you can find for them for the citizens of South Africa? My main issue is that you're losing buildings to fires, demolitions, and NGOs when you have university and college students who have no suitable accommodation. Would you rather pay rent to some shady property owners who will charge us, the taxpayers, an arm and a leg to get rich while students' safety, sanitation, and studies are compromised? It's easy for you because you didn't work for that money and you are not working for it now either. This is how Milton Friedman puts it.
Very few people spend other people's money as carefully as they spend their own.
The incompetent South African government is paying more than 5 billion rand per year on rent to private property owners. Imagine renting from the private sector when you actually own your own buildings. Why? Because you did not maintain your own buildings. They are so dilapidated that you don't want to try to fix them. So now you abandon your own buildings and start renting from the citizens. 5 billion rand gone every year. What a bunch of idiots. Apartments that are renting include certain police stations, Department of Housing, even Parliament. In the meantime, if the abandoned buildings are not hijacked or being used by NGOs, they are guarded by security companies who also collect millions of rands for guarding unoccupied buildings. So just like Eskom, just like Transnet, the government decided to enter into agreements with private companies. The more I research and find out about these people, the more I realize that there are no limits for their incompetence. There's like nothing you can tell me about these people that will restore my hope in their governance. From President Cyril Ramaphosa to the lost ANC cadre, the MPs, ministers, MEC, premiers, It's as if a group of high school children are in charge of our government. They spend millions on maintaining their mansions, but they don't maintain Eskom, Transnet, or government buildings. It's not different from being led by juveniles. Yes, they are old outside, but they have the maturity of juveniles, high school students who love candy, going out to restaurants as well as posing for the camera, all while doing nothing valuable. So while the government is wasting 5 billion rand annually to rent buildings for some government departments, while the government wastes millions of rands for indecent student accommodation, they actually have more than 3,000 vacant, unoccupied buildings across South Africa, which they are paying a security company to just sit and watch them, wasting even more of our billions. Those buildings have been vacant for more than 3 years, and some even surpassing 10 years, sitting idle, rotting, benefiting some BEE private companies as a security deal. Yeah, ne? The ANC needs to go, dear citizens of South Africa. We have had enough of these comrades, guys. No more comrades, please. No more socialists, please. Please. I am Katlagomwari. Please like this video, share it, leave your comment, and please don't forget to subscribe. This is Citizen Concerned. Until next time, beware of the comrades.